Hello all. Today we'll write a Python program for storing marks of students in a subject called as fundamental of data structure. Then we'll perform following operations on that array. So the operations are finding the average marks of the class, finding the highest and lowest score, counting how many students are absent, and displaying the marks with highest frequency. So now we'll create an array for storing marks. Now the array should store only floating point numbers because the marks are floating point number. So if I create an array like this, I can create a simple array like this by saying a is equal to this is an empty array. But the problem with this array is you will be able to store any kind of data in this array, right? You will be able to store integer, float, character, string, or anything you will be able to store. But we want to have an array in which we want to store only floating point numbers. So that's why we should create an array like this. We should create an array like this. So what we are doing is we are importing array in this variable arr. In this variable arr, we are importing array in this variable. So we are creating array then by calling a function array on this arr.array, and as we are going to store floating point numbers, so that's why this f, and we are having this empty array, so that's why there is no value in this bracket, in these brackets. So thus we have an array whose name is a, and in that array we can store only floating point numbers. So this array can store only floating point numbers, no other thing. So that's the thing with this kind of array creation. Once you create this kind of array, you will be able to store only that particular data type, right? So here is another array called as frequency. What is the use of frequency we'll discuss later in this program. So this frequency array stores only integers, right? Only integers. Okay, so now we are going to store marks of the students in this array A, right? So we'll ask the user how many students are there in the class. So user will enter some value. That value will be treated as a string. We'll take that value as input by this input function, and that value will be treated as a string. So we want to treat that value as integer. That's why I'll typecast this value by using this int, right? So now user has entered how many students are there in the class. We store that in n. Now we'll ask the user to enter the marks of those students, enter the marks of those %d student. That %d will be replaced by actual value of n. And if a particular student is absent, enter -1 for that particular student. This is my notation for absent, storing absent. You can have any other notation. So -1 means absent. Now what we have prompted user to enter the marks of n student. So user is going to enter the marks. So we will read marks n times. That's why for I in the range 0 to n means this loop will run n times. Every time user will enter something, we will take that input and we will convert that into floating point. So that is nothing but marks of that particular student. So those marks are stored in a local variable x, and then that x will be appended to the array A. We will append those marks x to array A. So a dot append x. So thus this loop will run n times, and every time we will take marks, we'll read marks from the keyboard, and those marks will be assigned to x, and that x will be appended to this array A. Thus at the end of this loop we will have this array A created containing the marks of all the students or n students. Then after that we will print this array A. So the array entered by you, the marks entered by you are print A. This will print an array. So let us execute this much portion of the program. So I have this new notebook. In the new notebook I'll copy this program. So if I execute this program, just a moment, internet connection is slow. Okay, so now how many students are there in a class? Let's say there are 5 students in a class, so we enter 5, enter for marks of those 5 students. So 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50. So that's how we got an array. This is an array. This array is not name of this array, right? The name of this array is A. Name of this array is A. This array just indicate that it is an array of floating point numbers. Okay, so after storing the marks of those students, we are going to compute, we are going to calculate the average marks. So to calculate the average mark, I need to calculate the sum of all the marks. So that's why I have taken this variable sum, which I have initialized to 0. Then initially I am assuming there is no student who is absent. That's why absent is equal to 0. Now what I am going to do, I am going to loop through that array A, and I am going to check what is the value on each location. Starting from 0th location, I will be initialized to 0. So starting from 0th location, I will be checking what is the value at that particular location. Now if that location is -1, that means that particular student is absent, because we asked the user to enter -1 for absent. So I'll check, is a of I equal to -1. If it is true, then I will increment my absent count, right? Else, that means that student is not absent. So what will we do? We will add the marks of that particular student to sum, right? So sum will be incremented like this. Sum is equal to sum plus a of I. A of I is nothing but marks of ith student. So this loop will run n times, and at the end of this loop we will have absent number of students in absent variable and sum of all the marks in a sum variable. So when we'll come out of this loop, I will find how many students are present by saying present is equal to n is the total number of students minus absent, right? So that will give me present number of students, and then average is equal to sum divided by present. So that average some people take like sum divided by total number of students, but here we have taken average is equal to sum divided by total number of present student, only present student. So that will give us average. So let us execute this portion, whether we are able to get this answer or not. Okay, how many students are there in the class? Let's say there are 5 students in the class. So enter the marks of the students. Let's say 10. Then I enter -1 for absent. Then I have 20. Then I have 30. Then I have 40. So you see, one student is absent. We entered -1 only once. That's why one student is absent. So number of absent student is equal to 1, and number of present student is equal to 4, and average marks is sum of, we have not taken -1 into consideration while taking the average, right? You see here we have not taken -1 into consideration. So average will be this plus this plus this plus this divided by 4. So thus we get thus the second operation is perform, average score of the class, and this one counting the number of students who are absent. Okay, now let us perform this third operation, finding the highest score and lowest score. Now this loop will help me finding the maximum marks. I will assume that the 0th student, or the student whose marks are stored on 0th location, are maximum marks, right? Then I'll check in this complete array whether that maximum is real maximum. If I find something greater than this max, I'll change my max to that value. So that's how I am running in this loop from 0 to n. So if I find ith value a of I greater than max, I'll change my max to a of I. So thus I will run through this array and find the maximum value. Similarly, in order to find minimum, I'll assume the student present on 0th location as minimum marks. Now while counting minimum, I should take care that I am not comparing with -1, right? So that's how I do here. If a of I is not equal to -1, then only I'll compare a of I with minimum, because a of -1 means absent. So otherwise, if I don't have this condition, I'll get minimum as -1 every time. So that's how I am taking care that I am not comparing this minimum with -1. So if a of I is not equal to -1 and a of I is less than minimum, that means the ith value is less than minimum, then I am changing my minimum to new minimum. So this a of I is the new minimum, right? Thus I will be able to find the maximum and minimum value. So let us run this also. So let's say there are 5 students in the class. Marks of those students are 10, 20, -1, 40 and 50. This is the array. Total number of present students are 4, absent students is 1, and average marks is 30. So maximum marks are 50. You see, maximum marks are 50 and minimum marks are 10. So thus we have performed 3 operations. Now the last operation is display marks with highest frequency. So that is, this operation is slightly tricky. So how I am going to do that, let me explain you first on the whiteboard. I'll explain you here. Let's say our array is 10, 20, 10, 30, 40, 50. Which of these numbers is present maximum number of times in this array? That means what score is scored by maximum student. That's what we want to find. You can see that in this array 10 appears twice. 10 is occurring twice. That means 10 is the number with highest frequency, or 10 marks are with highest frequency. That's what we want to find. So how I'm going to do that? I'm going to have an array here. This array I'm going to call as frequency array. So in this array I will be storing frequency of each number here. So this is 0th location, this is 0th location, 1st location, 2nd location, 3rd location, 4th location, 5th. So in the 0th location of frequency array, let's say this is 0th location, I'm going to store frequency of this number present on 0th location. So how I'm going to do that? I'm going to pick this 10 and compare this 10 with every number present here, right? So you can see that 10 is occurring twice. So this frequency of number present on 0th location is 2. So frequency of number present on location number 1 is only 1. It is occurring only once. I'll pick this number, right? So and then I'll compare this number with every number present in this array, right? So this will be 1. Similarly, frequency of this 10 is 2. This 10 is occurring twice here and here. So frequency of this 10 will be 2. And then frequency of this 30 is 1, 40 is 1, 50 is 1. That's how I'll be creating frequency array. Then from this frequency array I'll find the maximum number, right? Maximum number from this frequency array. So maximum number I get as 2, right? That is the highest frequency, high frequency is equal to 2. Then this 2 is on which location? 0th location. 0th location number has highest frequency. So I'll go to the 0th location in this array A, and I'll pick the number from there, and that is 10. So 10 is the number with highest frequency, right? So that is how I'm going to compute the highest frequency number. Okay, so now let's come back to our program. Here is what I have done. So for I in the range, I'm going to pick one number at a time. Like I'm going to pick this, right? And I will do this frequency. I will pick this number, compare this with every number here. If I find the number similar to this, I will increment the count, increment the frequency, right? And I'll do this for every number, right? That means I need 2 loops here. The first loop is for picking a number. For each number I'm doing, right? I'm initially assuming I count is equal to 0 count, because the number will be compared itself with itself also. That time this count will be incremented to 1, right? So I count is equal to 0, count of that ith number is 0, and the marks on ith location are a of I. The marks on ith location are a of I. This is a of I. I is 0, a of I is 10, I count is 0, because I am going to compare this ith number with itself one more time here in this loop. So now I am going to compare the remaining numbers in the array, or all the numbers in fact in the array, with ith number. So this loop will help me do that. For j assigns to 0 to n, I is still 0 and j is running from 0 to n minus 1, and every time I am comparing a of j with I marks, and as soon as I find they are same, I increment the count. So this loop will run n times when I is 0, and at the end of this loop I will have I count, right? And so that I count I will append to frequency array which we have taken for storing frequency, right? So then I will, from here I'll go up, increment my I becomes 1, and for 1 also I'll count, I will have count at 0 and I marks as a of 1. Then I will again run this loop for all the numbers in the array and find how many times that ith number or location 1 number is occurring, and then that count will be appended to frequency array. So we will repeat this outer loop n times, and inner loop will be repeated n times for each I. That's how the time complexity of this will be n square. I'm not really here bothered about the time complexity. You can improve upon this if you want. So this is a very simple code I try to write, so you can write more sophisticated code. So then this is the high frequency. I am counting the frequency value, highest number in this array I am finding, highest value in this array, that is the high frequency. So high frequency is equal to frequency of 0. I am assuming 0th location is the highest frequency. Then location I will note, location is, let's say, 0. Then I will run to the frequency array, and every time I will compare ith frequency with high frequency which I assumed. Thus I will be able to find the maximum number in that array, and also I will note the location. That's how I find the highest frequency. In this case 2 is the highest frequency number, right? And then I will go to that particular location in array A, because frequency array stores only frequency of ith location of array A. So I will go to array A on location, right? Location. So that's how I'll be able to get the marks with highest frequency, and then I'll print. So let us run this program one more time here. Now here we'll run this program. This is a complete program. let's say there are 10 students in a class now. 10, let's enter the marks. 10, 20, 10, minus 1, 30, 20, 10, minus 1, 5, 8. Right, so this is the array which we entered. You see we have entered 2 students as absent, minus 1 entered twice. So number of absent students is 2 and number of present student is 8. Average marks 14, maximum marks you can see 30, and minimum marks you can see 5, right? And this is the frequency array. You see 10 is occurring thrice, so wherever we have 10 the frequency is 3. So the highest frequency is 3, and which is for 0th location, and so we'll go to 0th location in array A and print the number there, which is nothing but marks of that particular student. So the highest frequency marks are 10. So this is a very simple program, though this program, in this program we said here write functions. I have not written functions. You can convert these operations, every operation, into function and just give a call to those functions. So you can improve on this program in terms of the efficiency, time efficiency or space efficiency, whatever. So I just wanted to discuss how array operations are performed. Right, so let me show you program one more time. So thanks for watching.